Do you have trouble finding whole milk yogurt in your grocery store? That's okay, you can make it at home. The ingredients are super simple. We'll have 4 cups of organic whole milk and half a cup of organic powdered milk, 1/4 of a cup of organic whipped cream, 3 tablespoons of yogurt with active live cultures, a tablespoon of gelatin. So it's very important that you make sure that it has active live cultures and it doesn't say made with active live cultures, because it has to have the live culture still in it. The gelatin is sort of an insurance policy because we're using a high fat content to make sure that it sets properly. For your equipment, you'll need something to store your yogurt. I really like these small containers so that everything's kind of serving size. You'll also want a thermometer, digital is best, and you'll want a heavy bottom pan for cooking the milk. So first we're going to preheat the oven to 200 degrees or whatever the lowest temperature it is for your oven. You're going to let that set for at least 15 minutes so that the sides and walls of your oven get nice and hot. You'll want all your ingredients room temperature before you start. It'll make everything go easier. So we're going to start with the gelatin. Again, if you don't care about the texture of the yogurt, then this is an unnecessary step. So, a tablespoon of yogurt unflavored gelatin goes in the whole whipped cream, and we're gonna let that bloom. All right, that's all set. Next, we're going to bring our milk to a boil. So the 4 cups of whole milk and half a cup of powdered milk. If you want to go without the powdered milk, that's okay. I just find it makes it thicker and less runny once it's set if you add some powdered milk to it. All right, we're gonna watch this, make sure it doesn't scorch for about 15 minutes. It's been about 15 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the oven. And that is very close. So there's 2 reasons why we bring the milk to a boil. One is to make sure there's not any microbes in there that we don't want, because we really just want the microbes for yogurt. And the other is to break up some of the proteins, denature them, so that when the fermentation process starts, there's more sugars and nutrients for them to latch onto, and it'll help the process along. I think we're done. Yep, there we are. This is pretty straightforward. We're going to move this off the heat and turn it off. And now we're going to wait for this to cool back down again. So now that it's down to 110, we're ready to inoculate it with the culture. So we'll start by pouring some of it in here. And we're gonna add our bloomed gelatin and cream. We're gonna stir that in. We want all the gelatin to be completely gone. We don't want to see any lumps. All right, that looks good. And now we're ready for the yogurt. So I want to make sure this is below 100 now, and it is. So we can add the rest. Give it a really good stir. Great. Now this is ready to go into the cans. So I strongly recommend you pre-measure this. Basically, I have made enough that each of these will get just a little bit more than 1/3 of a cup. So that's pretty straightforward. I just fill to the line. So I'm just going to use these reusable tops. Once you've used them for this, you can't use them for canning again, so it's a good idea to try and keep them separate from your canning lids. The canning lids are one use only, but you can use lids that you've used for canning for this, so it's a good way to use the lids that can't be used anymore for canning. Alright, so now these are ready to go in the oven. The oven will be approximately 180 for the next 2 hours. But it will continue to drop in temperature after that. To try and keep it warm as long as possible, we'll go ahead and turn the oven light on. That will keep the temperature warmer than it would be outside. We don't need it hot, it just needs to be warm, so that the bacteria can do its thing. It's important that that you give it plenty of time to do this. 10 to 12 hours or overnight is a good start. Basically, the longer you leave it, the tangier it will be. Some people don't like it particularly tangy, so they like it kind of mild, so that would be like the 10 hours. If you leave it to like 14, it would be very tangy. But we'll come back to this in the morning. All right, it's been about 12 hours, so we're ready to check on our yogurt. It'll be warm, but not hot. So if you pick them up, you'll see that they're set you know, they're not slushy. But don't shake them around too much. We're gonna get them in the fridge for their final set. About 5 hours should be good. And then the protein will have set up a nice gel. So we'll see you in about 5 hours. Okay, it's been about 5 hours. So these should be thoroughly chilled. They were mostly set when we took them out of the oven. So now they are probably pretty firm. You can see it's very firm and it's really creamy. This will last in the fridge for about 10 days. You can also put toppings in on top of it, like honey or jam, and then when you're ready to eat, just mix it in. You can also freeze any extra that you have. You don't want to freeze in glass, obviously, but if you had some extra, you could put it in a plastic container and then put that in the freezer. This is really good for recipes because it has a high fat content, so it'll be great for emulsifying. But also it has extra protein because we added milk powder to it. I hope you found this tutorial useful. You can omit any ingredient other than the milk and the yogurt. You can use a lower fat milk if you like. You don't have to add gelatin to it. You don't have to add cream to it, but that's how I like it, to get it nice and creamy and firm. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and I'll be happy to jump in and ask, and let me know if you have any other projects you want me to work on. Thanks.